Something I want to say before this video starts is that I'll be stopping my short form content for a while to focus on real videos and not just stuff people can scroll away from. I need videos for people to watch, and due to being more shorts focused, people aren't watching my longer ones. So starting now, you'll no longer get short videos. Grow your attention span and wrinkle your brain a bit. I've recently been getting back into playing Pokemon games because I guess it's just that time to spend 13 hours playing with my little critters. I've always been a Pokemon fan since I was young, and it started ever since watching the anime. Honestly, Pokemon is the main reason I'm an artist. It was, I think, the sole reason I tried getting better at art in the first place, so I could draw my favorite Pokemon. I've always been super attached to this franchise. So, randomly, when I was falling asleep one day, I thought about something. People make Fakemon all the time. I've watched hundreds of videos about it at this point. So what if I made my own Fakemon? What if they were based off of one of my other all-time favorite fandoms? What if I drew SCPs as Pokemon? Hi there, I'm Shadow, an artist, animator, and comic maker. Today, I'm trying my hand at SCP Fakemon. I finally got around to it after having this idea for, by now, a year. But since the new generation approaches launch every new day, I thought it would be a good time to make my idea known. SCP Pokemon has been done before, but every time I see art of it, it doesn't really make sense to me. But that's just a me thing, and all of the art I had come across was like 5 years ago. I got reminded of my idea when coming across a video by, I think, Popcross Studios, where he makes SCP Pokemon, and I thought, hey, I've had my own designs for like a year now, why not make my own video with my own take on it? Now, I have been drawing Pokemon for years at this point, so I've had practice with trying to match the art style. Is it great? Not really, but it's something. If you don't know what SCP is, well, I would say I have a video for you, but it's still in the works. For right now, I guess just focus on the art. So now, let's get to it! The Fume region. A region far off from the view of prying eyes. A lonely but very large continent with a huge facility located in the middle of it. This facility is owned by the SCP Foundation, a secret organization that searches for and contains anomalous Pokemon. The SCP Foundation is active in every Pokemon region, but the Fume region is their main site, seeing at how out of place and weird the entire island is. Pokemon found in this region appear to be singular Pokemon, more akin to mythical and legendary Pokemon, which is quite anomalous compared to normal Pokemon species. Some of which contain hundreds of the same Pokemon. The Pokemon here are all considered rare and undocumented Pokemon, and as such, the SCP Foundation has the region under protective lockdown at all times. Most of the Pokemon here were brought from other regions, while a few are natives. Because of this, there are no starter Pokemon in this region. While scientists try to study the Pokemon in this region, it is very difficult. It's not recommended to let any trainer in this region roam around by themselves. It is also not recommended for outside trainers to try and catch the Pokemon here. While some of the Pokemon do have some of the scientists and researchers as trainers, most of them are still very dangerous and do not listen to human commands. And as such, most personnel are not permitted to interact with these Pokemon unless it is for testing purposes. Pokemon battles do happen here, but instead of them being human-led, the Pokemon will engage in it themselves, making stopping the fighting rather difficult. These are a few of the documented Pokemon. I had a vague idea on what I wanted an SCP-035 Pokemon to look like. A floating mask using its abilities to host itself up. Now, since SCP-035 is a manipulative, gaslighting girl boss, I want this Pokemon to seriously lack in attack stats, but it doesn't need to be strong to be good. Mainly because its influence is so strong that it would possess you before a battle even started. Now, this one has two different forms, comedy and tragedy. But I also want to make a secret third form that is a complete reference to a certain theory, but I decided that was doing too much for one video. You'll get more 035 content when, and if, I make a follow-up video with this. I wanted the mask to use its weird abilities to keep itself afloat, and also summon those weird tentacles of its. The only typings that seemed to fit with this were the ghost and psychic types, which completely worked in my favor. I also wanted to make the tragedy and comedy forms look just different enough to where you can tell it's the same Pokemon, but the masks aren't the same. I think this one turned out well, and people seemed to really like the comedy form when I showed it off, so I think it's a good thing. Now let's meet this new Pokemon. Regional number 035. Ethoardo, the possessive mask Pokemon. Ghost and psychic type. Ethoardo can charm its way into any situation with its psychic abilities. It will often pretend to be friendly to get something out of people. Most likely, it will try to make a trainer wear it on its face. Don't be fooled by its tears. Ethoardo is a very powerful Pokemon who can influence the minds of trainers. Do not put on this mask. Special ability, Greek Play. This Pokemon can influence the minds of both people and Pokemon. Current trainer. For the name, I struggled a bit with it, but I managed to get it to work. I used the Greek word ethopoios? I don't know how you pronounce that. The word for performer, and the Italian word Vagardo, liar. A performative liar is what its name basically is. I like to think the Foundation still finds 035 locked up in some box in some region, because that thing is a loser that deserves it. Also for the secret third form idea. If you know anything about the insane fandom stuff with the theories, you might know where that's going to go, but I'll keep quiet. How the possession would work is that 035 would still use its mind powers to will people towards it, making them pick the mask up and put it on their face. It doesn't work on Pokemon, due to the more human-like look to the mask. 035 can speak fluently to people, to further sell the act it plays when possessing someone. However, when it's not possessing someone, it will just make jumbled noises that don't make much sense. SCP-049 was really easy to design for me. He's just a plague doctor. A bird. So all I had to do was look at some bird Pokemon. Surprisingly, and unfortunately, Pokemon already has a plague doctor. And it's Spritzy and Ermotes. I do not like either Pokemon, so guess what? You get an actual French plague doctor now. I didn't really want to go too crazy on the design, since 049 is more human than creature, but I didn't want to draw 049 normally. When I was drawing this Pokemon, I looked at some other crow Pokemon for references to see how these guys were designed. It was really helpful during the process. I wanted to make this guy a multi-stage Pokemon, with this being the last evolution stage, but I thought it would be smart and make more sense to only have it be a one-stage Pokemon. I wish I had something more to say, but in all honesty, this is just really close to how I already designed the normal SCP-049. And with my notes finished, let's check out this Pokemon. Regional number 049. Medibio, the Plague Doctor Pokemon. Dark type. Medibio is a very polite Pokemon and always greets any trainer. Medibio always tries to help out people when around. Whenever Medibio senses any sickness, it gets very agitated and tries to get to the sick person. Despite it seemingly wanting to help, it ends up turning people into zombies instead. Special ability, Death Touch. Whenever this Pokemon touches another living being, all of their functions will stop. Current trainer. None are chosen at the current time due to the previous incident. The name is taken from the French words for medicine and corvid. I thought it would be a fun thing, but I also don't speak French, so I don't know if what I'm saying is right or not. Feel free to yell at me for it. SCP-049 still, of course, has its Death Touch. There wasn't any way I was leaving that out. Of course, this Pokemon cannot speak to people, so he'll just kind of grab you with his beak and lead you to something, like a corpse. You know, kind of like how a dog would, like if it's hunting. If you know me, then you know that 096 is one of my top 5 favorite SCPs. They're just a little baby meow meow. Pathetic wet cat that looks like Slender Man. I wanna hug it. They make me feel so bad for them. I struggled a lot with this Pokemon design. I had no idea what to do. I didn't want to just make a tall skinny white dude. I had to just grab some human-like Pokemon to use as references because I did not know where to start. I knew I wanted 096 to be an Ice Ghost type Pokemon, purely because I think we need more of that typing, and Water type didn't seem right for a human-like Pokemon. Plus, the mountain photo. Since we don't know where 096's natural habitat is, because it's redacted, I just assumed they stay up in the mountains. Mainly due to no sane person willingly being up there, and that means no one will see its face. With that out of the way, my new favorite Fakemon. Regional number 096. Glacial Whale. The shy Pokemon. Ice Ghost type. Glacial Whale spends most of its time hiding away from people and Pokemon. Glacial Whale seems to like its solitude and does not take kindly to those who interrupt it. Whenever Glacial Whale gets mad, it enters an intense rage state and will target anyone who sees its face. Once the target is eliminated, it calms down and will start crying. Special ability, Weeping Fury. This Pokemon will enter a rage mode when provoked and become significantly faster. Current trainer, Dr. For the name, I combined the words glacial and whale to make it look like glacial wall a bit. It does not sound like it, but I think it's cool. I had a fun gimmick I wanted to try out. It was just giving 096 a rage mode. I didn't really change much about it, but it's fine. I don't know how to really transfer the lore that the Foundation wants 096 dead, because, like, who would want a Pokemon dead? I'm not really sure what region the Foundation would have found 096 in, so I'm leaving the lore to be made up by other people. Go crazy, I'd love to see all the stuff you think would happen in a Pokemon universe. Oh, where do I start with this one? SCP-106 has always been an SCP that actually freaked me out. It still kind of does, and maybe that has something to do with me never wanting to stare at a corpse. I had so many ideas for a Pokemon design for this freak, but I didn't know which one would work well enough with the Pokemon world. This is literally just a corpse. Game Freak would never make that an actual Pokemon. We have had disturbing Pokemon before, but a walking corpse that can walk through walls covered in barbecue sauce? We haven't had that before, and we never will. So I tried making this look creepy enough so you can still tell what it's based on, while also trying to keep in that Pokemon style. I wanted to reference the young man tell in the design, because in all honesty, I fully believe in that theory, but I decided not to. But I think this thing would look better with a combat helmet covering most of its freaky face. Though, the broken skull is actually a reference to a tail adjacent to the young man. I just forgot its name. Regional number 106. Corporal Bog. The rotting Pokemon. Poison Ghost type. Corporal Bog's entire body is made up from a corrosive, smelly substance. This does not seem to harm Corporal Bog, as it moves around without any problem, but if it were to touch a person, their skin would burn for hours. Corporal Bog appears to have its own pocket dimension it uses to move around and seems to be the reason it can walk through solid objects. It also uses this dark place to chase and torment any victims it takes. Special ability, Decayed March. This Pokemon slowly corrodes anything it touches and will slowly drain HP from other Pokemon. Current trainer, Dr. L. I struggled so much with the name that for the longest time this Fakemon did not have a name. But then an idea hit me. So I used the words corpse, corporal, and BOG. BOG is the abbreviation for boots on ground, used for active duty military. I think it really fits, since I fully believe in 106 being a World War I soldier. Speaking of, I think how this Pokemon came to be would be very interesting to write out. Oh, also, for the ability, I thought of a much cooler name in post and I wasn't able to fix it for this video, unfortunately. I think this Pokemon would be one of the few that have unhinged database entries. Like, it would just have something insane written about how it likes stalking people and keeping their teeth. Which, that would be based on the Halloween tale with 106, where he literally eats teeth. Okay, so SCP-173 was really easy to design. I knew what I wanted to do from the get-go. But this isn't the design I made first, because I decided to make this statue have 2 evolution stages, this being the first. I wanted this design to look close to the original image of 173, with the stubby arms and legs and that big old peanut head. I like this freak, and I actually think the big eyes make it almost feel bug-type in a way. I think this one was really easy, because all I had to do was downsize its second stage, which was already made. Regional number 173. Sculptnit, the quick sculpture Pokemon. Rock and Steel type. Sculptnit seems to not be able to move when being looked at. Sculptnit is a very mischievous and dangerous Pokemon and will attack any human or Pokemon it doesn't like. Sculptnit can only move when not in direct eyesight of something. It seems to enjoy being stared at and attacks only because it's not receiving attention, but this is unconfirmed. The name is pretty simple. It's just Sculpt and Knit put together. I couldn't really think of anything else to do. I really like how this one turned out a lot. I think the way this Pokemon would have evolved would be through something like being broken down or somewhat taken apart. Like I said, I had already made the second stage before working on the first stage, so this is where I had to think about what I was designing. I wanted this one to look less like the original 173 and more like the one from SCP Unity. Rest in pieces. Have any of you guys played Unity Containment Breach before? The 173 in that game was, like I said, the main inspiration to how this guy turned out. I don't really have many other notes written here. So, back on track. Let's see this freak now. Regional number 173. Pidgeotto, the aggressive statue Pokemon. Rock and Steel type. Pidgeotto attacks whenever someone or something is not looking at it. It will attack both trainer and Pokemon, making training it very difficult. Pidgeotto does not listen to anyone when given a command. It seems to rather attack anything at once rather than listen to people. Special ability, Quick Blink. This Pokemon can only move when not being looked at. Current trainer, none assigned. So, the name comes from the Spanish word for stone and the Japanese word for look or watch. Very obvious why I chose these words. I have so many thoughts about how all the Pokemon here would act and such, but for 173, I think it would just be bloodthirsty. Look at this thing and tell me you can train that Pokemon. Also, it will, in fact, try attacking other SCP Pokemon, like SCP-682. Speaking of, SCP-682 is a really interesting SCP for me. Is it because I love reptiles? Maybe. But also, it exists just to mess with the SCP Foundation. I'm pretty sure real-life Crocs act this way too, but I'm not certain. I decided to make this thing a dragon type, because why not? That just means you can easily kill it with a Sylveon, which is funny until it comes back to life with moves like Moonblast. It has wings, but just very small, because I think in either SCP-682's file or the file with every test they put this guy through, there's something about launching SCP-682 into the sun, but it grew wings just to fly back to Earth. I haven't checked. The body is in a constant state of decay, but this thing just tanks it like the tank it is. I also wanted to make the colors look like a poison or dark type, possibly even a ghost type, because I want this Pokemon to seem like it's camouflaging itself and mimicking other Pokemon in a way, due to its weird ability. Hey, maybe when it uses its ability, it also changes colors too. Now that I'm thinking about it, this is just very similar to Arceus' ability. Regional number 682. Reptisuno, the immortal reptile Pokemon. Dragon type. Reptisuno has a tough hide that almost nothing can pierce it. It uses this to its advantage when on a rampage. Reptisuno cannot be defeated. If anything kills it, Reptisuno will come back to life stronger and angrier, often seeking out when I previously defeated it. Special ability. Reusable life. This Pokemon can revive itself upon being defeated, gaining one move in the type of whatever killed it. Current trainer. The name comes from reptile and the Japanese words Tessun, endless, and Tsuno, strength. I don't know how to properly pronounce any of these words, so taking shots in the dark. I had no idea what to do for the name, so I just started poorly translating words until I got something. Okay, so, I love this thing, and if it was real, I would have this in my party, max level. This is definitely a pseudo-legendary, like any good dragon type. Dragonite, my beloved. Now, of course, the original 682 comes back to life with the immunity of whatever killed it. But that's too OP for Pokemon. It just simply copies a move of the Pokemon that killed it, but as a cap, if it was real, it would only last for the battle. It would also replace a random move it has with said copied move, so it could get rid of the best attack move it has. The ability also copies the attacking Pokemon's type, normally making the attacks less effective. I think ghost Pokemon are effective against each other. I didn't check. Alright, that's all I have for this video. This was really fun to make, and I had a great time drawing all these guys. I was thinking of making sprites as well, but I'm being dragged along for a vacation, which at the time of editing is in a week, so I didn't have any time for it. You know, assuming if I got this video out when I wanted it to be out. Anyways, I hope you art goblins enjoyed this video. Like I said before, I love Fakemon and SCP, so again, this was just a fun project I just wanted to make, and had been holding off for far too long. That's all from me, for now, until I decided to cave and, I don't know, write a fanfiction or something. Wink wink. But I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!